As Russian missiles rain down on the center of Kramatorsk, Ukrainian soldiers ramp up their defense in the Donetsk province. The war on the ground grinds on, with only small territorial gains for Moscow. But in parts of the Donbass already seized by Russian forces, the US fears they could deepen their control through annexation.
Annexation by force would be a gross violation of the UN Charter, and we will not allow it to go unchallenged or unpunished. We will continue to provide Ukraine with historic levels of security assistance. Later this week, the administration will announce the next presidential drawdown package of weapons and equipment for Ukraine. It will be the 16th such drawdown to support Ukraine since the president took office.
High-tech US weaponry has started arriving in the country, a huge boost for Ukrainian forces. Reports that some of it has been sold on the black market has been labelled Kremlin propaganda by the country's president.
Our partners are fully informed about how we use weapons which were provided, but in order to remove any manipulation of Russian propagandists and those who help them in Ukraine or elsewhere, an additional parliamentary control instrument will work.
As shelling from both sides hammers eastern Ukraine, it's civilians paying the ultimate price in the villages and towns along the front line. Despite punishing battles and heavy casualties, Ukrainian troops say they're holding down their new positions.
Ukraine's President Zelensky signalled a major shake-up of his top team by firing both his prosecutor general and spy chief after losing faith in his long-term allies. This comes as the talks on lifting the blockade on grain exports continues. Well, let's look at what all of this means with Orysa Lutsevich, Head and Research Fellow at the Ukraine Forum, Russian and Eurasia Programme at Chatham House. Thank you so much for joining us on Euronews. So let's talk about grain first. Now, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has suggested that negotiations on lifting this blockade of grain exports is going well. The talks are positive. What's your take?
The talks are happening, but this is a very fragile process. And what is even more complicated is actually having these security corridors for the fracht ships to actually move the grain. And this is where the complication lies, because the Black Sea is mined to a very strong degree. And in order to build up these corridors that are secure for companies to ensure shipment, it will take time. So it's very unlikely that this will be unblocked in any immediate time.
Right. And let's come to Zelensky cleaning house. How concerning is it that the person who essentially led the war efforts has been removed? And how much does it say about the choices that Zelensky makes?
Well, Zelensky, when he came to power, clearly prioritized loyalty over professionalism among the people that he appointed. And the now former head of security services, Bakanov, was a childhood friend of Zelensky and had very little actually experience working in law enforcement and security.
So how much does this then shake the foundations of Ukraine's security and their efforts to repel this Russian invasion?
I don't think it shakes to a large degree, because at the moment, the main task of repelling Russian aggression is with Ukrainian armed forces. And Ukrainian armed forces are both operating behind the enemy lines on the occupied territories and also on the front lines where they're repelling Russian aggression and preparing for the counteroffensive. I think there will be a sway of new people coming in who prove themselves more effective in the war, who will be promoted to higher positions, and through this there will be cleanup and improvement of the services.